Memory transcription subject, Governor Tarva of the Venlo Republic. Date, Standardized Human Time, December 9, 2136. It was obvious that the human was resisting the urge to comfort HFY, even while the Venlo rescue was immobilized. Her eyes screamed misery. Sarah acted as my support pillar, giving me the courage to peer out the window. The Venlo capital had been plunged into chaos, with a free-for-all dash to the bunkers. Erratic driving was rampant, and the wrecks would soon cause a traffic jam that made road travel impossible. Our Venlo driver cursed, spotting a multi-car pileup down the street. After thinking for a moment, he steered us up onto the sidewalk. The chauffeur yanked the steering whistle, and crept along slowly to give pedestrians time to move out of the way. We rolled down the sidewalk at a crawl. Other vehicles began to act upon the same idea. I wished my driver hadn't decided I deserved special treatment for being the governor. The crowd congregated in our path, and I noticed a few humans among those walking. The predators remained their normal selves amidst the chaos, evidenced by them shooting middle fingers at our car. One Terran even slammed the hood of my vehicle, though he stopped when he recognized me and Sarah. Word traveled that Tarva and an Odyssey astronaut were the passengers, and the pedestrians parted. We swerved back onto the road, past the massive wreck that would have delayed us. The tunnel up ahead was the site of the nearest bunker, so we had cleared the distance in a few minutes. I checked my holopad for updates, and hoped Cam would apprise me of the situation soon. Who was attacking us, and what were their goals? Oh, Tarva, this is apocalyptic. Sarah pointed to a handful of flaming vehicles, and stampede corpses near the bunker. There's so many dead, for no reason at all. Where are your emergency services? I heaved a sigh. Honestly, this looks like less stampede casualties than usual. There will be no responses from EMS until the lockdown has passed. They're trying to get to the bunkers, same as everyone else. People are going to bleed out in the streets, not getting medical aid. Someone has to help. It's little solace, but I think humans have helped, just by being here. You stopped Venlo from panicking. You kept your wits and directed your friends. A horrified expression took over Sarah's face, and her eyes were wide with disbelief. The UN security barked at us to disembark, since it would be quicker to clear the final meters on foot. My scientist friend scooped up HFY, kneading her scruff to comfort her. That gesture had the opposite effect, but the predator kept trying. We hopped out into the smoky air, and I studied the burning wrecks of the cars. One foot in front of the other, that was the mantra I told myself. The flames crackling around me reminded me of the human stampede, and that awful day that Elias Meyer was taken away from us. Venlo were trapped within the car wrecks, and many languished on the ground with gruesome injuries. I could see in the Terrans' faces that they wished to help, but they prioritized getting me to safety. Human instincts encourage them to help strangers in trouble. Can HFY recognize their empathy's manifestation for what it is? A screeching wail pierced the air, just enough that my ears picked it up. A few devices mirrored its sound close behind. Flashing lights appeared in my periphery as the hum played up and down. The noises sped to quick bursts, followed by the deeper sound of a blaring horn. Massive trucks were coming from the direction of the hospital, emblazoned with the logo of the UN. What is that? HFY cried. Hunting signal? Sarah's lips curved up. Just look, sweetie. Please, look. My own eyes widened with disbelief, as an entire armada of predators rushed to the scene. Humans in bulky, reflective pelts and hard helmets exited a red truck. They readied a massive hose, and began spraying gallons of water onto a burning car. I watched as they battled the blaze, tackling it with determination. More of their guild arrived to extinguish other flames. Boxy trucks were also in the area, with stretchers descending from their back hatches. Human paramedics never ran, but their steps were purposeful and well-intentioned. Somehow, they were collected amidst pure chaos, the external stressors rolled right off of them. The Terrans began tending to the critically wounded, providing life-saving measures. Why were these humans not getting themselves to safety? How could they stay on duty with the threat of antimatter annihilation hanging over them? To think that they would risk their lives, for Venlil who had gotten wounded in our own panic. HFY gawked, as security encouraged us to keep moving. Perhaps it surprised her that humans were trained in medicine at all. These actions were selfless and altruistic, risking their own hides to save others. This was the epitome of why I fought for their species, and why I thought the Earthlings had good hearts. They were heroes in their best moments. Sarah sighed, as we joined a waiting queue by the bunker's massive elevator. Any update, Tarva? The doors chimed open within a few seconds, and I kept my eyes on my holopad. My tail flicked in the negative, the human nodded, understanding. Terran paramedics shouted for us to hold the lift, before wheeling a patient into the car. Without further ado, we hurtled down to the bunker's underground hideout. I huddled next to Sarah, trying not to think of how cramped it was. The Predator EMTs began setting up a makeshift hospital, and I reminded myself to commend their efforts if we survived. HFY's eyes darted around the bunker. I could tell that her sedative had begun to wear off. The rescue wriggled her legs, earning Sarah's attention. Had I been thinking clearer at the facility, it would have occurred to me to pack another dose. The paramedics might have something to knock her out, if it came to that. HFY wasn't the only rescued Venlil spiraling. A few individuals from the program had fainted or gone catatonic. Others were engaged in full-blown panic attacks, or cowering near catatonic at masked humans' feet. Terran civilians comprised about 10% of the bunker's population, so there was no avoiding the sight of them. I'm going to put you down, HFY. Just stay put, okay? Sarah still had the Museum of History photos under her arm. She shifted them into her hands with deft motions, and flipped through them. You let the Farsals show you footage of us. Don't you think it's fair to let us show footage of us? HFY whined feebly. Who told you? Fucking Glim? Answer my question. Are you that opposed to seeing things which contradict what you already know? You've decided we're evil. HFY, you thought it yourself, all the way back then. There's more to humans than wars and violence, I said. Sarah latched onto my contribution. You heard us talk about all those good things, love, community, nature. You just saw evidence, with your own eyes, of our desire to help. Let me show you a little more proof. Let me show you how we present our history. The Venlil rescue trained her eyes on the paramedics, who were giving blood transfusions to an individual with critical wounds. Her gaze wandered, as if she were counting the number of Gaians in the room. HFY noticed that some Terrans were scared, many were crying or showing signs of distress. Human children clung to their parents, and even a few Venlil were comforting the Predator young. One Earthborn kid tugged at his mother's pelt. Not again. I want to go home. Please. Manipulation? HFY asked, pointing at the child. It doesn't want to resist its hunger again? Can't be scared. Sarah fiddled with her curls. I'm scared shitless too. This brings back a lot of memories, of being caged in a bunker for days on Earth. As billions died, and we didn't know if we'd be next. It was traumatic, and that kid doesn't know if this is any different. The human scientist tugged out 2 photographs, and passed one to HFY. The rescue cringed, touching the same paper as Sarah. I leaned over the Predator's shoulder, inspecting the image. It was a timeline of early civilizations on Earth, including ancient settlements and hunting methods. Ancient philosophers were depicted, along with temples and pyramids. How do you think that humans would define the start of civilization? Sarah asked. HFY choked on phlegm. First hunting tools. No. Read the part at the top of that exhibit, HFY. A healed femur, is the earliest sign of civilization. Why? Because it takes months to recover from that injury, and requires help from others to survive. That is how humans define civilization, helping others. When did wounded people stop being left to die, human? A few decades ago? The first archaeological evidence of a healed femur is from 15,000 years ago. Someone had to care for that person, and nurse them back to health. We never stopped caring, Heisei, not even in our darkest moments. Whenever you look for compassionate heroes among humans, you will find them. That is my promise to you. Huddled in the bunker with thousands of others, I absorbed that lesson alongside Heisei. It was a nice benchmark to ascribe to civilization, a scientific way to quantify when a species started caring. The Venlil historian squinted at the photograph, before handing it back to Sarah. Her ragged frame was quivering, while her voice was still fraught with terror. Heisei cleared her throat. What was the other photo? It's the exhibit of our accomplishments as a spacefaring species. It applies to the Venlil and every alien race. It's proof that we reached out in open friendship, long before we knew there was anyone out there. You think we're terrifying predators, but really, we're sad, lonely primates screaming into the void. Please explain. We sent manned missions to our moon, in the name of progress. We sent rovers to explore the planets within our system, and took images of every orbital body. We love knowledge, Heisei, we'll run to the end of the universe for a drop of it. But none of that searching turned up anything. But you didn't give up. You say you invented FTL, on your own? We did. I'm proud to have been on our first planetary survey mission. But, before that, we would scan the skies for signals from aliens. We sent a probe out of our solar system, with information about our world and greetings. It was called Voyager. The Venlil Rescue inspected the blurb about the Voyager probe, and I squinted with equal fascination. Seeing humanity's innocent curiosity had wiped away my dread, despite the threat of an imminent attack. Images of their planet, music, sounds of nature, and mathematical schema were sent to the stars. Greetings were also recorded from 55 Earth tribes, wishing peace and good health. The UN Secretary-General of those early days had inscribed words of peace and friendship, which I could envision Elias Meyer himself stating. I could hear them spoken in Elias' voice, acknowledging that Earth was but a small corner of the universe. Putting forth humanity's desire to learn from alien cultures, and their willingness to share from their own library of knowledge as well. It wasn't going to reach any planetary system for 40,000 years, Heisei. Long after any of the humans involved in it could benefit from manipulation, Sarah said. The simplest explanation is that we wanted friends, and that we wished you well before we ever knew you. Heisei threw the picture down. How can you prove that you didn't invent this? Or compile it after making contact with the Venlil? You can calculate where Voyager is today as well as we can. The weathering of time should be evident on it. Actually, the UN wanted to encourage Tarva to go pick it up. It was meant for aliens to hear, and there couldn't be a better recipient than our first friends. It would be sentimental for us. I chuckled. I'll do it. Well, assuming we don't all die today. Tarva. My God, you can't go around saying that. I am merely accepting the possibility. I'm hopeful it won't come to that. But if the end is near, I'm thankful to spend this time learning about the species I love. It would be an honor to give your Voyager greeting a proper look over. It's beautiful, Heisei admitted. There's no reason to tell so much about yourselves, and open yourself up to scrutiny. To danger. A wistful sigh was all I could muster. They reached out to the stars, and expected the galaxy to do the same. They couldn't help themselves. It's simply who humanity is as a species. My holopad buzzed, alerting me to an incoming message. I snapped my focus away from Sarah, and ignored stares from across the bunker. The human and I were recognizable figures on Venlo Prime. It was our security who kept strangers from approaching. The people expected answers from me, and I hoped I had them soon. "Call me at your earliest convenience," General Cam had texted. "General Jones of the United Nations has pressing information." These details could be sensitive, but there was no privacy within the bunker's main area. Thankfully, my earbuds were available to keep the words secret. I dispatched video communications to Cam at once, fumbling with the keystrokes. The Venlo military official appeared on screen, a worried glint in his eyes. He added Jones to our call, and the high-ranking human studied me with her usual bravado. The Predator flashed her teeth. "Governor Tarva. Thank you for allowing me to phone in. I wish it was under more pleasant circumstances." "What?" Heart-wrenching concern permeated my awareness, and my thoughts leapt to the gorgeous settlements of my home world. Is Venlo Prime safe? Were our cities hit? How did the battle go, and who is attacking us, and why? Cam raised a placating paw, a humanesque gesture he'd absorbed. Venlo Prime has not been hit by any missiles at this time. There were a few hundred ships, seemingly hailing from Alpha. We've taken care of most of the Kolshan bastards, and we should be able to clean up the rest without issue. So we can stop them short of orbital? Well, short of orbital range, ma'am. Our advanced warning systems did their duty, and our defensive fleet outnumbered theirs by a substantial margin. Throw in humans being humans, the Kolshans got pancaked. I'm hopeful we can give the all-clear within the hour. We just can't rescind the emergency until the last enemy is dispatched. I understand, and it's a weight off my chest. Thank you, Cam. It's not how well their attack went that concerns me, General Jones interjected. It's why they went through with it in the first place. It wasn't with the intent of succeeding. I tilted my head in confusion, unable to decipher the Predator's meaning. Perhaps Sarah would grasp an attack meant to fail. I couldn't see the objective, other than a spiteful revenge spurred by fight instincts. Then again, it was positive news that Venlo Prime was unlikely to suffer any damage today. The last thing I wanted was to tell my citizenry that the Federation harmed our home. Also, how could it be herbivores, and not the Arxer, assaulting our space? It was difficult to process what Cam had stated, though I didn't allow myself to dwell on it. I realized that the Venlo Republic was a treasonous enemy to the Kolshans. Siding with humanity put us at odds with the Federation by default. It was simply unlike the tentacled manipulators to go on the offensive. Pray only defend what is theirs, isn't that their view on warfare? Why the sudden aggression? I swished my prosthetic tail. I'm not certain what point they're trying to prove, General Jones. I am only happy that their ships lie in ruin, and that you have protected us again. Allow me to share some intel that was passed along our novel FTL comms. Each of our allies is reporting a similar incursion in their home system, all failures, none with a convincing show of force. That leads me to believe that the Kolshans were testing our defenses. This was just recon. What does that mean? Please, tell me if I should worry. It means shit is about to hit the fan. The Kolshans are assessing the weakest targets, and also gathering intel for the planning stage. The intelligence community on Earth analyzed the most likely targets, and Venlo Prime isn't high on the list. However, I don't think preemptive buffs to your defenses could hurt. Okay. We have the upgrades you gave us, and we'll bring in more ships. We'll help you too, since you're a priority to the UN. But humanity can't protect everywhere at once. We need goals beyond defensive measures, a forward strategy if you will, and that means earning more allies. I sure hope the Durerton, or someone, comes around. I'll keep my ears peeled on that matter. Thank you for the information, generals. I'm going to calm down the people here, and try to fix the fallout with the cattle rescues. Many saw your faces for the first time. That's a good idea. We don't need any domestic situations arising for you. The United Nations and its subsidiaries will be in touch. Please keep us apprised of any developments. General Cam dipped his head. Take care, Governor. We'll see you soon. The call fizzled out to a blank screen, and I pondered what I'd learned. My mouth moved to inform Sarah, HFY, and the bunker's other occupants that we should vanquish this incursion. However, the words were passed along on autopilot. From the sound of what General Jones discussed, the Kolshians were bringing a massive force to our alliance's weakest link. The Federation was attempting to regain control forcibly, after humanity scored 2 crushing victories. I feared that another planet could become a casualty of this war. Before the tide turned, there were no positives in dead civilians on any world. It was up to the Predators to ascertain the Kolshians' game plan, and to get ahead of their next move. Memory transcription subject, Chief Hunter ISIF, Arxer Dominion Sector Fleet. Date, Standardized Human Time, December 12, 2136. A diplomatic resolution to the Battle of Silas didn't solve all of my problems. Regaining organization, as well as finding places to pool a fleet without infrastructure, mandated a bit of time. Bringing Prophet Descendant Giznoll into the loop was also a priority. The last thing I wanted was Betterment breathing down my neck. The leader was chagrined by my unorthodox approach to disposing of Shaza. With hostilities terminated and internal orders dispensed, I found an opportunity to slip away. The nearest dead drop location was a human module on the border of Yodel space, inside what was once Shaza's sector. Nerves had gotten to me, since this was my first engagement with espionage. What was General Jones going to do with the information? Would humanity's actions reveal me as the source? Against my better judgment, I'd booted up a call with Felra during my travels. The doseur seemed intrigued by my days-long absence from the messaging service, which I excused as opposition from the UN military to a business proposal. It was technically true. Our discourse had stretched into the late hours of the night, when she was forced to depart for a few winks. Rest wasn't a terrible idea, though my own sleep was broken. Felra couldn't call during her shift as a mechanical inspector, though she texted the majority of the time. She was close to finishing her day's work, and was eager to hop on a call afterward. I warned her that I had important matters to attend soon. My ship had Jones' outpost in sight. However, as usual, the doseur was unfazed by my excuses, and unrelenting in her demands. You know I don't usually respond this slow, sci-fi, Felra texted. We have been swamped, with Silas ships docking for repairs. I saw a real, live human at work today, many of them, by sneaking a peek at the quarantined lodgings. You guys are gigantic. I snorted to myself. The doseur was never short with the unsolicited details about her day-to-day activities. If she thought that humans were massive, an Arxer's size would astound her. Despite our slouching posture, we could loom over the primates if we so desired. It mystified me how the Federation species could compare us and the Terrans, and see predatory features in the tree-dwellers. Well, I suppose you should be working, not on here chatting, I answered back. Don't get into trouble on my account. The doseur typed back furiously. For crying out loud, sci-fi. Show a little curiosity. Ask some questions, if you're interested in what I'm saying at all. Fine. Did seeing the humans scare you, Felra? Yes, please don't be mad at me. I'm just being honest. I didn't tell you this, but I've watched a lot of human media since I paired with you here. Your comedies are hysterical and outlandish. For one, you only watched comedies. I watched the first human to appear on a Venlol talk show too. Some actor, he played off what the host was saying without hesitation, read discomfort with ease, and made fun of himself. So natural, conversational, and charismatic. So, unlike you. My paw nearly dropped the holopad, and I considered switching it off. Of course, I was nothing like the charming primates, with their smooth sociability and their empathetic capacity. I would be lucky to call myself a shallow echo of their personal depth. Perhaps it would have been possible for me to be a better Arxer, but the deeds I'd committed had hollowed out my defective side. Had Felra figured out that I wasn't a human at all? No, if she had ascertained that her internet friend was an Arxer, she would have cut contact. The dosor was getting close to the truth, so I needed to deflect her attention. I do not want to talk about me, I sent back. You never want to talk about you. You won't tell me one thing that's real about you, or one thing that's not wrapped in mystery. It's like you think if you're genuine, you're going to scare me off. Just because I'm small doesn't mean I'm a damn coward. I do not think that, Felra. But I would scare you off, it is a fact. You said the humans you saw at work scared you. I kept looking though. What absolute goofballs, the way they razzied each other was so juvenile. The more I looked, the more I thought you're overgrown children. But not you. I am not like them. Answer me an honest question. Do you have predator disease? Don't take that the wrong way. I've thought there are harmless strains of predator disease, which isn't exactly a popular idea here. Define predator disease. You know, antisocial, violent, non-compliant, non-conformist, lacking a full range of emotions, or delusional. Some combo of those. Those are unrelated attributes. You can call me nonconformist and leave it at that. Okay, sci-fi. I'm not judging you, I just want to get to know you. I want to understand you. You cannot do either of those things. Don't you get it? I am not a good person, Felra. I have thought about little but my own survival for decades. I'm not prepared to interact with people like you, or to censor myself as humans do. I don't want you to censor yourself. I think you are deeply unhappy and troubled. You don't deserve to be alone, just open up to me, man. Ah shit, let me guess, now you'll say you have to go. I do. Guess you know me after all. Goodbye. The way Felra peeled back my emotional layers, and hounded me for personal insights, left my defective side in a full-blown mutiny. I'd gotten too close to confessing the actual things I'd buried. Speaking with the pesky dosor was always a mistake, yet I kept doing it. What good would babbling about my feelings do, other than to let misery overtake me? It wasn't like I could detail my life's work, and the reasons why I acted this way, to her. The rote actions of piloting the ship distracted me from the message banners accumulating on my holopad. It buzzed with an incoming call, as I descended toward the minimalist human station. Growling to myself, I took the device and shoved it back in the drawer. If I had any courage befitting an Arxer, I would delete that silly rodent's contact info. No, I would remove the entire SwiftPair application. Just take this stupid communique, and upload it to the blasted human's computer network. The Arxer's future is relying on you, while you spend time caring about random prey you just met. I jerked upright, as I realized which thought had crossed my mind. Caring about Felra was an unacceptable indulgence. That was the exact reason why leaf-licking races made illogical decisions for the preservation of one individual. Oftentimes, caring about another managed to get people killed, or cause grave detriment to their own lives. It was foolish weakness, and there weren't even social benefits in my case. Docking was completed just outside the dead drop site's sole entry. As I disembarked my ship, I was livid with myself. My claws swiped through the empty air, and my temper boiled inside of me. The fact was, even if I envied the humans' illogical morality and society, I was not one of their kind. This weakness needed to be purged at once, before it ruined me. Fucking Tarva, with her stupid ideas. Oh, I really need a friend, I ranted to myself. The airlock hissed open at my arrival, granting me access to the one-room space station. I'd stormed through the docking tunnel in a haze, and I couldn't wait to return to my ship. The point of my operation was to end the cruelty and starvation of my people. Revealing Gizno's plot was a way to up the ante. It could stoke the flames of open rebellion. The data drive in my grasp felt heavy from its importance. A green light flashed in a wall camera, likely activated by a motion sensor. I leaned closer to the computer display, tracing a claw across it. There were multiple ports, but I needed to find one tailored for my specific hardware. Perhaps General Jones or one of her henchmen had the sense to leave accessible instructions. Wait, did humans even know ARCs or script? The lone computer monitor blinked to life, and I wondered if it was triggered by my presence as well. My pupils flitted up, seeing a feed of General Jones' face on screen. It was possible that this was a pre-recorded message with instructions, which would be an efficient decision. However, the primate's eyes seemed to be following my movements. "Is this live?" I queried. The human dipped her head, dust-colored bowl cut waving slightly. "Yes, ISIF, this is a real-time communications feed. The point of a dead drop is to have no contact with you, yes?" "You are correct. Don't consider this standard practice for our discussions, but I needed to speak with you. The motion sensors tipped me off to your arrival. Thank you for coming, by the way. Oh, and before you ask, this is a secure and private feed." Noted. "General, I had nothing to do with the captured humans on Silas. But you had everything to do with Chief Hunter Shaza arriving in multiple pieces. Dead, and not answering any questions. Zhao wants intel, not a pair of homemade ARCs or skin boots." I suppressed a laugh, somehow managing to keep a straight face. The liberated Terrans had done as expected, exacting their revenge upon the cruel Arxer. It was a fitting end for her, after the gruesome death she'd given to a sapient predator. I had been looking forward to executing her myself. Outsourcing the work tempered the pleasure, though the outcome was still satisfactory. How could I have possibly known that humans would kill their own prisoner? I asked, baring my teeth. "I sent her with Zhao's people, just as you asked. This seems like the problem is on you." Jones narrowed her eyes. "Isif, you knew exactly what would happen." "Ah, if this is what you needed to speak with me about, perhaps I have nothing to share with you after all." "It's not. I'm just warning you not to play games with me in the future. There's bigger things at stake than your personal vendettas. Consider it your payment to me for helping you, yes?" Shaza called me elderly. "She's also a cannibal who intruded on my sector. I am aware of her history, but her insights would have been valuable to the United Nations. If you want to overthrow the Dominion long-term, sacrifices must be made. With that said, I would love for you to brief me on what you came here to share." Gizno told me that the Arxer unleashed the virus on our own cattle. Betterment purposefully imposes strategies that prevent the Dominion from recouping enough prey to feed us, whether through raiding or breeding. Therefore, I doubt my government would have any interest in lab-grown meat or non-sapient cattle. The human was quiet for a long moment, biting her lower lip. Intelligence gleamed in her binocular eyes, which studied me with interest. General Jones leaned forward to the camera, and offered an unnerving smile at last. There wasn't the slightest element of surprise in her expression, or any sort of reaction like I had expected. Did anything throw the military guru off her game? I surmised as much, Jones sighed. There's no logical explanation for the Arxer's raiding policies, shooting yourselves in the foot. You deduced a centuries-long conspiracy from our military doctrine being illogical? It's like she's trying to make me feel stupid for not seeing it sooner. That just proves we're destructive. Drawing far-reaching conclusions is illogical. Well, also, the Kolshians specialize in gene editing, but they bomb predators, instead of saving them. They don't need a cattle virus when they can, and do, use antimatter to ruin ecosystems. I see. I guess I have wasted my time bringing it to you. There's no need for pouting. Confirmation is always valuable information, and specifics are also key to proving it. It's nice to have actual intelligence in my back pocket, should I pass this up the food chain. You mean when you apprise Zhao of this development, and give him more reason to believe we are all animals. Your empathy test surprised him, Isif, and has caused him to reconsider your motives. Regardless, I'm not here to rehash this old feud, or even to lecture you on Shaza. There are concerning war developments as of late. My nostrils flared with interest. Go on, Jones. Another attack on Earth, and you want my help? Bah, we wouldn't ask for your help in that circumstance unless we were truly desperate. The Kolshians are gunning for our allies, to the point that they assaulted every last one with a trial run. We've figured out their true target, and they already have thousands of ships ready to bury it. Or seize it, it's hard to say. I don't understand why you're telling me this. Venlo Prime isn't under my protection, other than my pledge not to attack it. If my people knew I was on amicable terms with Tarva. The main target isn't Venlo Prime. It's Milo, the Dosur homeworld. My heart plummeted into my chest, thinking about Felra's attempts to befriend me. She was a bold character, unabashed in her opinions and curious about predators. I had just admitted to myself that I cared about the rodent, and now, her homeworld was under attack. It didn't make sense why the Terran general would inform me about Milo's pending attack, unless she expected me to help. I knew Jones was spying on me, but this is a cheap trick, even for her. So the Federation wants to take back what they've lost. Indignation sparked in my chest, as I weighed this manipulation attempt. And why would you think I care about the Dosur homeworld? The human shrugged. It's a Federation objective in your sector. Bringing Arxur ships to their aid would prevent the Kolshians from branching out to the galaxy's fringes. You are the one playing games with me. They are your allies, not mine. Send human assets to save the Dosur, since you seem keenly aware of their plight. I wish we could. Milo is 2 days' travel from Earth. Our assets cannot reach it in time, the Kolshians had their ships en route and waiting. But you have forces there. You yourself are half a day from it, and could get there in time. You are fucking insane. What would the Dosur even think of my arrival? I suspect one in particular is whose thoughts you care about. I am giving you information, what you choose to do with it is your prerogative. You would be equally upset with me if something happened to your friend and I didn't tell you. You admit. Farewell, Isif. Stay in touch. General Jones had the audacity to hang up on me, and I punched the computer screen out of frustration. The glass cracked against my hardy paw, sending sparks flying. My tail lashed with outrage, I stalked out of the habitat in an emotional frenzy. My feet steered me back onto my ship with more urgency than I could admit. I fished out the holopad, and determined that I had to warn Felra of the inbound attack. Perhaps she could get out of Milo's system and survive, without military interference. The Dosur ignored my call attempts, and her avatar had gone offline. I checked the chat logs in a panic, reading her final messages. Hey sci-fi. The humans who docked here just received warning of an incoming attack, from the Kolshians. There's not many of you, and their ships are here for repairs. It's not good. Evacuation ships were apparently considered, but the first few we sent out didn't get very far. The Kolshians have FTL disruptors, and they're not letting anyone slip away. The humans advised us to shelter in place in the docking station. I am scared. Please talk to me, sci-fi. Please, I am so scared. I'm sorry for prying earlier, I really need you now. Tell me it's going to be okay. I don't have much time. They're going for our communications first. If I don't make it out of this, I want you to know I've enjoyed our chats. Every weird, reclusive moment. I stared at the last message in mute horror, and an odd burning plagued my eyes. A strange sorrow clamped at my chest, one which I could not bury. It was a sad commentary that an internet friend, an herbivore I'd known for a few weeks, marked the closest I'd ever felt to someone. Hadn't I just cautioned myself about the illogical, harmful actions that attachment caused? My defective side clamored for me to act on General Jones' imperative. Perhaps I would have considered the idea even without the human's input, just hearing Felra plead for my presence. The doser was the first person to care about me, even though she'd hate me once she knew the truth. Leaving her to die, when I was the sole party who could help, wasn't an option. With a shaking paw, I booted up my internal communications. The communique to send a full fleet to Milo, and to treat the doser as protected friendlies, was dispatched before I could rethink it. My engines revved to life, and I set my warp course for Felra's system. Reason be damned, this foolish chief hunter was coming to his friend's aid in a hurry.